What's up? This is Jacob Palmer from Palmer Electrical. Thanks for tuning back in. Make sure that if you like today's video, you leave a like and a comment and let me know what you think. And make sure you leave any comments with any questions that you have about what I'm talking about today. I've been excited to make this video. A lot of people ask me questions, and I tell my story pretty much every day when people see me for the first time. People are usually struck by my age. I'm 22 years old. I'm a licensed electrician in North Carolina. I passed my licensing exam in January of 2024, and I started my business, Palmer Electrical LLC, in February of 2024. In today's video, I'm going to, first, I'm going to explain in detail the electrical licensing process in North Carolina, the process that I went through. I'm going to explain the requirements as well as the different applications and forms that you're going to see in your process if you are going for your electrical license in North Carolina. After I explain the licensing requirements, I'm going to tell my story about how I got started in the trade, how I got my business going, how I passed my exam on my first attempt, and maybe just tell you a little bit about my thoughts and what I plan for the future. First, let's talk about the requirements and the process for getting a license in North Carolina. And we're going to start with step one, which is the exam application. If you go to the NCBEEC website here, you can see right here, forms and documents is where you need to go find almost anything you need to know. See right up here is the exam forms section. At the top, you'll want to go to this one right here, application examination for new applicants. This is a packet that has all of the forms. It's got 4 main parts and they're laid out here in the checklist. You'll send this to the board to become eligible to take the exam. Here at the top is the exam application itself. Note that there is a $125 examination fee. This is where you select the type of license that you're applying to test for. I am going to be talking about the limited, intermediate, and unlimited classifications in this video. I'm not going to be talking about any of the special classifications, but this is the same form that you'll use for those, and also all of the rules and requirements for those classifications are in the same places as for the limited, intermediate, and unlimited. You put all of the information here for who is applying to take the exam. And then the next section here in this packet is the employer statement form. This is the paper that verifies your work hours. The requirements differ between the different license types. As a baseline, you have to be 18 years old to apply. All the specific requirements that you have to adhere to are available in the NCAC Title 21, Chapter 18. That's going to be the rules for electrical contractors here. And then here, Section 400 has the licensing requirements. And then Section 200 has the requirements to become eligible to take the exam. At a high level, for the limited classification, you need 3,000 hours of experience, 2,000 hours of which are required to be primary experience. For the intermediate classification, you need 5,750 hours of experience, 5,000 of which are required to be primary. And for the unlimited classification, you need 9,000 hours of experience, 8,000 of which required to be primary. Those sections are here and here on the employer statement form. There are also some other additional requirements for licensing in the intermediate and unlimited classification that we'll go over here shortly. But your employer statement form has your hours of experience as well as your employer's information, and your employer statement form is required to be notarized just to verify everything's legit. Next on the form is your character statement form. You need 2 of these to apply to take the exam. You need to find 2 trusted individuals to sign this. This form is pretty simple that they're signing. You can see here that it's to certify that I have known Jacob Palmer for approximately so many years, and that, in my opinion, they are of good character. So, you know, be a good person. This form is important because they want honest individuals, people of good character, to be responsible for electrical work, which I think is reasonable. And finally, on this application is the supervise and direct statement form. You need 2 of these only for the unlimited classification, though. You don't need these forms for limited or intermediate. This form needs to be signed by somebody knowledgeable of the electrical trade and familiar with the applicant's ability to perform electrical installation work, correctly. Basically just saying that this person knows what they're doing. And that's it for the exam application. I screwed up on my first one, entered some information in wrong and had to redo mine. All of this information here needs to be sent in together, and all the rules and really all the information that you need is mostly in this package. Okay, so now we'll move on to step 2, which is scheduling and taking your exam. When the board approves your exam application, you'll get an email from PSI, which is a testing organization that the NCBEC uses to conduct these tests. You'll click the link, give them the information they need, and you'll be able to schedule your exam. There are 7 testing centers in North Carolina for electrical testing. There are locations in Asheville, Charlotte, Greenville, Raleigh, Fayetteville, Winston-Salem, and where I took mine in Wilmington. I live in the Charlotte area, but I took mine in Winston-Salem because they had the soonest available testing date at the time. If you're not already a code whiz, you want to start studying now. It's a pretty difficult test. It's 100 questions long. They vary based on what type of license that you're applying for. The intermediate and unlimited exams include questions with high voltage. One of the limitations of my limited license is a 600 volt cap. I can't work on anything 600 volts or higher. And I also have a $60,000 invoice cap per job. They give you 8 hours to take it. It's a 100 question test. You get 1 sheet of scratch paper and it is open book. So you can take your code book as well as your fire alarm and signaling code book. Both information from both of those are on the exam. The exam is also on North Carolina business law and administrative law, things like that. The different relevant rules to electrical contracting and conducting business in North Carolina. That section is often more difficult for people just because it doesn't get thought about. People don't study it as hard. A credible source told me that the test has a 70% fail rate statewide. So only about 3 of 10 people who walk in will walk out with a license. You need to make a 70 out of 100 to pass, and you get your results immediately as soon as you're done. If you passed your exam, congratulations. That's a great feeling walking out of the building after you pass that exam. If you didn't pass your exam, then there's a 6-month delay on when you can retake. I highly recommend taking an exam prep class for this exam. I'm sure it's perfectly possible to learn it completely on your own, just you and a code book. But the code book is not intuitive unless you're already very familiar with the NEC. Then you're going to need somebody to teach you how to navigate it and what to look for. There are also tricky questions. It's intentionally made to be a difficult exam, and they are tricky with wording. They use things like wordplay and include unneeded information in some of the questions and make things sound more complicated than they're not, all that stuff. So when you're taking it, it's important to read every word of the question carefully. Make sure you're doing lots of practice questions. There's plenty of available practice questions online. They provide some practice questions. I spent most of the week prior to my exam studying very hard, and it paid off. I got 77 of 100 on my first try. All right, and finally, we'll move on to step 3. You're not done yet. You still need to apply for your license. After you've passed your exam, you're not a licensed electrician yet. You are a listed qualified individual. That means you've gone through the examination application process, they've verified your hours, and you passed your exam. When you're ready to apply for your license, you go here to license applications on the NCBEC website, and you go to new license application. Pretty straightforward. And it lays out the requirements for this application right here at the top. You need your completed license application, which is in this form. Examination and qualified individual, that's what we just did. We passed our exam. And then for unlimited and intermediate classifications, you need to show bonding ability. $150,001 for the unlimited category and $60,001 for the intermediate category. The limited classification is not required to prove bonding ability. And finally, if you're attaching your license to a new business, then you need to register with the Secretary of State. It says here to allow 7 to 10 business days for processing. I seem to remember mine going just a little bit faster than that, but it's the government. This is where you're going to enter in all of your information for the license. Note that there's another fee here, $100 fee for limited, $150 for intermediate, and $200 for unlimited classification. You're going to enter in the information of the qualified individual in this section. Employee misclassification, I guess, is a big issue, so they include that here at the bottom, a statement from the NC Industrial Commission. You have to check indicating that you read that. And finally, the bonding ability forms are at the bottom for the intermediate and unlimited classifications. Again, all of these different components need to be sent in at the same time and with the associated fee. After the processing period, if everything gets approved, then your license will be issued. They'll mail you a certificate. You may then legally conduct electrical contracting in North Carolina. Of course, as long as you have all the other requirements for business like insurance. And that's how you get an electrical license in North Carolina. It's pretty simple. The process for me between whenever I first submitted my exam application and when I got my license certificate in the mail, it was about 3 months or so, the full process. It's pretty simple, and I know a lot of states have a lot more strict requirements for electrical licensure. Also, the rules are such in North Carolina that to perform electrical work, you must be working for a licensed company, but you don't necessarily have to be a licensed individual to perform work. In North Carolina, as long as the company is licensed, the people working for that company can go and perform work. Of course, the qualified individual is who is responsible for the work that's being performed because it's their license and it's their name. So in North Carolina, if you call an electrician to come and perform work at your home, the odds are that the person that shows up to your door, the odds are that they themselves don't have a license. Odds are that their boss has a license or somebody in their organization has a license. And before I got licensed, I even had customers who would turn me away while I was working for my previous company as collecting my primary experience as an electrical foreman. I had many customers who found out that information and they didn't want me working there because I did not have a license myself, which is totally reasonable. I can see how somebody wants the licensed individual performing work on their home. But the other simple fact is that in North Carolina, there are not many electricians left. The same credible source I mentioned earlier told me that for every new license that is being issued in North Carolina, one licensee is retiring. They also told me that the average age of licensed electrician is in the high 50s. That's good news for me as a 22-year-old. Also, with your license, you have other benefits like reciprocity. So license reciprocity is when another state will recognize your electrical license in North Carolina and allow you to perform work there as well. You get another license number in the state reciprocating your license. States that reciprocate with North Carolina include Alabama, South Carolina, Florida, Tennessee, Georgia, Texas, Mississippi, Ohio, Virginia, and West Virginia. I have not reciprocated my license to any other states yet. I may do that in the future, but for now, my service range is pretty small. I don't really have a reason to travel to other states for work yet. I get enough work as one person. So now I'm going to tell a little bit of my story, how I got started in the trade, and what I am doing and where I think I'm going. So for a little bit of background, I graduated high school, class of 2020. That was COVID year. Throughout high school, I did all sorts of extracurriculars and student leadership. I think I was a good student. I was good in math. I was good in physics class. I loved learning about electricity. My last day of high school was Friday the 13th, March 13th, 2020. They told us we were going on a 2-week break for COVID, and then 2 weeks turned into 2 years. Immediately out of high school, I was going to college for economics. It was 2020, so all the college classes that I took were online, and that's just not my environment. I'd hate learning online. I specifically chose my exam prep course because it was not an online course. They had an in-person classroom setting. I didn't get the chance to create a social life during my college experience. Maybe if I had stuck around for the next year, that would have been different, but I decided pretty simply that I hated it. I hated college, and it was not an easy decision for me mentally to make because I've always considered myself a smart person, and I had every intention of getting a college degree, and that's how I conducted myself through high school, and those are the plans that I made for myself. It doesn't make me proud to say that I'm a college dropout. I didn't think I was going to be part of the big percentage of people that drop out after 1 year. But I did, but I gotta say, it set me on a very interesting path that I'm very happy that I'm on. I completed my first year of college. I did not go back for my second year. I spent some time working a couple other blue-collar jobs, and I kind of learned that I like blue-collar work. I like using my hands, I like making things and fixing things. So I worked at FedEx for a few months during that summer after my first year of college. I worked in a 52-foot semi-trailer, scanning and stacking boxes. I was good at that too. After a couple months, I wanted a change of pace. I wanted to change my mindset. So I went and lived with my grandparents in Virginia for a few months. I lived in a very small town called New Market, Virginia, near Harrisonburg in the Shenandoah Valley. Beautiful, beautiful place. I worked at Howell Metal, which is owned by Precision Tubing Company, which is owned by Mueller Industries. My job there was to operate a drawbench and produce high precision aluminum tubing. My job was to operate the machine, adjust it as necessary, and to use a suite of micrometers to ensure that my product was accurate. I worked with tolerances of plus or minus just a couple thousandths of an inch. That was a very interesting environment for me to be in. I discovered that I love equipment. I love heavy equipment. I got trained on how to use an overhead gantry crane, which was my favorite part. And I met a lot of really interesting people there, and I learned a lot about myself there. It was a factory, it was a manufacturing environment, and I think I did a good job there too. People told me I did a good job. In that kind of environment, if you show responsibility and good leadership skills, as management turns over, you may be moved up to some sort of a foreman position or some middle management position at the plant. But usually in a position like that, your growth is pretty limited. So that's when my mom back at home hired an electrician who would become my boss. He mentioned that he needed some help. I was at a position in my life to where I could try something new. So that's what I did. I've always been interested in building stuff. I've always been interested in fixing things and using tools. Like I said earlier, I was good in physics class. I already knew some of electrical theory and a lot of the math that I needed to know. So I was able to learn pretty quickly. Also fueled by my natural curiosity and desire to learn. I am always hungry for more information. I want to know how things work. I want to know how everything works, and I want to be able to fix anything. I learned the trade quickly. I paid very close attention to my boss and how he did his work and how he interacted with people and how he ran his business. I learned a lot of what you need to be doing. I learned a lot of what you need not to do in business. Soaked up every bit of information about electrical code that I could. I soaked up every bit of information about electrical history that I could. I worked for that company for 2 years. I became proficient in residential wiring. I've performed every aspect of residential wiring, including new home construction. I've performed work on standby generators, service upgrades. I found out about the requirements for licensing in North Carolina and discovered that I was eligible. After I did some research and found out the specifics of the licensing requirements, only 3,000 hours of experience, 2,000 of which need to be primary. I was accruing primary experience after about 8 months working for that company. Because I learned everything I needed to do and was given my own van, and I was sent out to sell and complete my own work, which was permitted and inspected, and I oversaw the work of apprentices that were assigned to work with me. I submitted my application. I passed my exam on the first try. I got Palmer Electrical LLC registered in North Carolina and got my license issued. I've been in business now for almost exactly 1 year. It's been going well. If you've been following the channel, then you know I just got my shop space. I have a small warehouse space now that I operate my business and personal shop out of. and I'm very excited for the future. I only perform residential work. I am licensed for commercial and residential work, but the simple fact is I don't have a ton of commercial experience, so I do not perform commercial work with my business. I only perform residential work, and I only work by myself. I plan to expand my skill set into commercial work in the future, but for now, I plan on building this business. When it comes up, something I tell a lot of people is that I know that this isn't the rest of my career. I just know that. I will be expanding my skill set, and I'll be learning something new one day. Right now, I'm focusing on learning how to run a business, what running a business is like, and being independent. I don't work for anybody other than the customers whose homes I work in. I'm able to make all of my own business decisions, which has been great, and I am learning how to make the most of that. I have no employees, and I have had no employees, and for now, I plan on keeping it that way. My thoughts on that may change in the future, but I have seen what my previous managers have gone through managing their people, and it's not an expense that I'm willing to take on. It is not a new source of stress that I'm willing to take on. And it's also not a liability I want to take on. I have a very high standard for my work, for the quality of service that my customers experience, and the overall manner of presentation. And I've only come across a couple other people in my career that I would trust to go and represent me. I'm excited for the future. I don't know where I'll be 5 years from now or 10 years from now, but my mantra that I have repeated to myself and also spoke aloud is I plan on being successful in this business. I don't know what that looks like. I don't know what I'll be doing, but I feel it. I think it's there. I know it's there. It feels to me like great success is just right there. It feels like I can reach out and touch it. It's only up from here, but I have to remind myself a lot that I am still a nobody. As far as society is concerned, not a lot of people know my name. I haven't made millions and millions of dollars. I haven't done something amazing or dramatic or highly influential or consequential yet. But I know that I can, and I know I will. I feel it. Thanks for watching to the end. I had a couple people comment and ask for this video, and it's also something I've been wanting to make for a while. A lot of people ask me questions about how I got started and what I do, and then also a lot of people ask me questions about North Carolina licensing. So if you have any questions about me or about licensing, I guess you can leave them in the comments. Make sure you like the button if you made it this far, and subscribe so you can catch my next videos. I'm excited for the future. Take care.